Just think up something, have it on air within as quick as it takes you to design it. And then I think you're going to find that it's going to free up the marketing department a bit more to kind of utilize different tools to be more effective as far as getting your message out there for events, shows, anything like that, anything you want to promote. So just kind of a brief overview of this. I just opened up Overture Template Builder. This is a little bit of the setup of an After Effects. I haven't played around with Flash yet, but I've been told that it does operate a lot like Flash. Over here, you're going to have where you can have, it's basically like your bins. If you want to import different assets, I can right-click and import, bring in the resource. You can bring in images or video. There's a lot of options that you'll find in this Overture Template Builder software that it seems like, oh yeah, we can do all this stuff. I would only do, really, I would have somebody taking notes on what you can and cannot do with this, because right now, with inconsistencies within the software, bugs that I find, PNGs are the image file format that you want. As far as for videos, it needs to be exported from After Effects as a QuickTime MOV, and in the settings it would be RGB plus alpha and straight unmatted. That's a big deal as far as those file formats. But with those two file formats, you can pretty much, sky's the limit as far as whatever you'd like to display on the screen or on the program. So this bin over here, you can import different assets. That's where you can come in and bring in your PNGs or your MOVs. And also over here, besides the actual assets, you can create different objects. There's only a few. This analog clock, digital clock, I've never played around with these. A lot of this stuff, just play around and see if it would apply to your station. These did not, sorry, so I never used these. Planes, you would attach. Do you want me to exit out of this, or keep this board right open?
If you want, you can go ahead and pull some of those graphics in. If you look underneath the bug.
That's where the graphics are located, in the E?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, well, just jumping back in here, in order to attach anything, you would need a plane layer. I'm sorry, my phone's on. I would have to create a plane layer. Let's build a bug real quick. Just a quick, jumping right into it sort of scenario. I would have to attach an image or a video to a plane layer in order for it to be seen. On this plane layer, that's where you define the size and all these different attributes. So let's import from the E drive that bug.
So there's a bunch of different formats in there. A little bit higher up, yeah. Bug.
And would be this one right here?
Sure.
Cool. PNG file should be good. And do you have only HD channels, or do you have SD, or do you have an SD widescreen?
We're just going to have HD channels with you.
Okay. So what we do is we want to make sure that our canvas is that 1920 by 1080. So we're going to go up here to View, and then we can go into Video Standard, and this is where we can select there. This is actually the correct setting. You can have 1080i 5994. If for whatever reason, we have SD widescreen, so I don't pick this. So right now we're in the correct canvas for this with Video Standard, so we're going to go with that. I've imported the bug image, so now you see that we have media up here as your asset, and then you have your objects here. I'll talk later about what the text and the ticker are. But for right now, I'm going to try to attach this bug to the plane. So I've selected the plane, and once I do that, once we actually create a plane, now this timeline down here becomes active, as well as this attribute panel over here. So what we're going to do is that I have to, basically I'm going to use the aspect ratio of this image to set the size for the plane layer. And I'm going to do that just by dragging it over, right over here into the size tab. And it told me, yep, this is a 1920 by 1080 image, so we should be good. Now, obviously I should be seeing something down here. bug, and I'm not. Let me open that bug in just the preview window just to see. Okay, so we should be seeing that. I'm going, no, hold on. Okay, well, alright, well, assuming that I saw my bug displayed properly, well, let's say it's black, let's say it's dark, maybe we can't see it. I'm gonna show you, go over to File, actually, I'm sorry, Edit. Let me go to Background. I can change this background. Let's change it to white, just so that I know if I see that it's gonna pop. So normally, if I would see this, oh, actually, I'm sorry, it's because I haven't dragged it down to my timeline. So now I'm going to actually drag this down to my plan. I'm sorry, it's not late in the day, for me anyway. So I'm going to drag down this bug right over here under the media on this plane layer. Once I drag this down here, I'm going to give me this option whether I want to append to the end of the resource track. Assuming that we have multiple images or videos on one timeline, that's where this would come in handy, is that you can select this append to the end of the resource, and it's gonna butt up right up against the next one, or the prior asset on this timeline. But since we're going with a zero, or we're starting at the 0 frame, it's gonna uncheck that, go with frame 0. So then you'll see that it does place this media right there at the 0 frame, and we can see our bug. Is this positioning how you wanted it?
Roughly.
Is this exactly where you need it?
That'd be 4x3 safe inside of our 16x9 blocks.
Okay, so this is as long as this is the correct layout and everything. All of your layouts, I would advise that they be done in Photoshop or After Effects. I would always export, in this case, the 1920 by 1080 video or image. Always do your positioning, things like that, in Photoshop or in After Effects, just because it's the more precise way of doing things. You don't really want to put too much burden on this program. Just like I said, there's a lot of bugs, and it just kind of eliminates the possibility of inconsistencies. And also, I mean, it'll be easier to design if you know exactly pixel perfect in a Photoshop canvas or an After Effects canvas where this thing resides. So we've put our asset on our timeline. We have our bug there. Now I want to designate sort of an action. I want this when traffic cues this on. I want it to fade up. Let's say I want it to fade up about 10 frames. Then I want it to hold for the duration of the program. I want it to hold all the way until the very end of the program, so when the traffic cues it off. And when they do cue it off, I want it to fade out nice and clean. So I'm going to use these controls down here to define those keyframes. So at the 0 frame, I'd like the opacity to be 0. And if my windows are a little bit, I have to resize things. So I go down to opacity, and I can set my opacity. And once I make a change, notice that a keyframe is going to appear. See? So any changes that you make, it's going to create a keyframe. So here's another sort of pitfall you want to keep an eye out for. If you have something selected, and you're just making, random changes, and then, we'll change these back, we're not going to do that. There's always these random keyframes that will be created. So always, before you publish anything, as you're learning this, always shrink this timeline. That's what this does, your little scale. Shrink this down, take a look, make sure that your timeline doesn't have any stray keyframes anywhere. Because if your bug or your graphic is only supposed to be about this long, and you have a keyframe out to here, which I've done before, this will not cue off until it's run the duration all the way to that keyframe, and then it'll go off. So you just want to scrub through and make sure that there are no stray keyframes anywhere. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to continue on this build. We're going to go, our opacity starts at 0. And at the 10th frame, and we see our frame identifier here. See we're on the 10th frame. We want the opacity, which I'm going to select the opacity. I'll raise that all the way up to 100. And then at this point, I want it to pause. I want it to stay on screen and pretty much just pause right in this condition that it's in right now. So I'm going to click action. And then I can, right on the 10 frame, I can right click and create new pause keyframe. And now that's just going to pause it right there. And now this does something differently with video. Video, it will loop what's prior to this. The asset that's prior to this, it'll loop it. So it actually acts more of a loop for video than it does for pause for imaging, or for images. So we want to pause here, and this is where it's going to hold for the duration of the program. Now once traffic cues it off, then it will continue on. It'll unhitch this pause, and it'll continue playing out. So I'm going to go to the 20 frame, give it a nice 10 frame fade out, and on the opacity I'm going to drop this back down to 0. Notice our pause keyframe has been created. So now what I'm going to do is save, because that is absolutely crucial with this program, because you don't want to build something. Some of the builds on these can get a little bit big and time consuming, and you don't want to lose your. So we go to the. I'm just going to save this right on the desktop. You can delete this later. This is just for
demo
so
purposes.
In case the thing crashes, then we don't have to pick it up from square to 0. So we have the bug test. And now I want to test this. I want to make sure that this does indeed act the way I want it to. I want it to fade in, pause, and then when I cue it off, fade out. So in order to do that, we've built it, we've saved it. I'm just going to go here and click this preview or play button. And on your end, did you see that fade in? About 10 frames?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And then basically, so now it's holding. This is what it would do for throughout the program. When I hit stop, it's going to basically mimic traffic queuing this off. So just keep an eye out for the fade out. We have a nice 10 frame fade out there. So that's a simple way to make a bug. That's usually how we start different stations up, just so we have that bug on file. We know it's a very simple build and it's pretty reliable. So now, if we were to go, let's go to, I think I saw in there some sort of animation for your bug. See what you have going on with this. This is a Photoshop image. Okay, I thought this was a video. Okay. So have you done any sort of logo animations?
We don't have a logo. We don't have a logo animation available here. We do have a lower third that has animation in it, though. If you go up a level, go out of this bug file.
Back. I'm sorry. Go back. Where would that be?
It's that one right there, the L3 lower third clean vertical
L3,
bug.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, we'll cross that bridge soon enough. I don't want to jump ahead. So just to kind of give you a very brief sort of overview of what we will ultimately be getting into is, because we currently do an animated bug. So what I've done is, what I do in After Effects is I have the nice, snazzy sort of intro, animates on, and then it ultimately settles down to that transparent bug, which will remain for the duration of the program. And then, when cued off by traffic, it'll have its nice snazzy animation off, nice and clean. So it's going to require 3 different files. It's going to require that intro animation, pause keyframe, where it's going to pause right on there, and then it's going to have an outro animation. And what you would do is line these up on the timeline back to back. First the intro animation, have your pause image, put your pause keyframe on that image, and then you have your outro animation follow that directly after. And basically that's going to tell the system play out this MOV all the way until you hit this still image, and then it's going to pause there until it's queued off, which then it'll continue on and play out that outro MOV. And that basically will require your graphics person to do 100% of the work in After Effects. Make sure that you have the thing animate on nicely, have just one frame of what you'd like it to pause on, and then you can play the rest of the animation. So it does require a bit of creativity on how you're going to work within the system, but also display a really nice either bug animation or a little snipe animation, things like that.